I was a girl in a book, this would all be so easy. Just give up the world happily.
Strange Blue Feelings, a series. Sal Fisher, ex-listener. Part 5. First day at Nockfell. Loud electric beeping was a sound you woke up to Monday morning. But hey, it was better than being woken up by a ghastly spirit, right? Actually, since it was your first day of school and first day of the school year overall, maybe seeing a ghost and passing out would be a good excuse to stay home. Slowly, your hand reached over towards the alarm clock, smacking the thing to make it shut up, not wanting to leave your bed, which felt unusually comfy this morning. Okay, get up. You have to shower and get ready. You don't want to look like crap your first day, right? Wait, since when do I care what people think? Maybe just 10 more minutes. You thought to yourself, but quickly brushed the lazy thoughts away, knowing that if you fell back asleep, you'd definitely be late. Sitting up slowly, you looked at the time. It read 7:01. School started at 8:15. Just enough time to shower, get dressed, and make an attempt to look presentable. Throughout your shower, you wondered how this day would go down. Would you meet new people? Would you like your classes? What kind of lunch do they serve? The one question you didn't think of, however, was if Sal and Larry would hang out with you. Because it hadn't been answered yesterday. After they finished telling their horrendous stories of apartment 403 and list of spirits they had encountered so far, the topic of the first day of school was mentioned, it being the next Monday and all. Surprisingly, it was Sal who asked you to hang out with them at school, Larry encouraging you to say yes, of course. And of course you agreed. How could you not? These two dudes were your coolest friends. Well, only friends for now. But they had promised to introduce you to the rest of their little group, so you expected your friend count to go up. Any friends of Sal and Larry were bound to be friends of yours. Time ticked by, and eventually it was already 7:30 a.m. All you had left to do was put on your outfit. This part was a bit worrying to you, since at your old school, your outfits were often met with comments such as, "It isn't Halloween yet," or the classic, "Is black the only color you wear?" Hometown assholes. You mumbled to yourself as you pulled your comfy black wool sweater over your head, remembering all the tricks from your previous schools, slipping on your green plaid shirt and black stockings next. Finally, you put on your absolute favorite pair of shoes, your good old black Doc Martens. Examining yourself in the mirror, you loved everything about your outfit. It complimented your figure, made you feel confident, and best of all, you knew your friends wouldn't judge you over it. They didn't give a shit what you wore. They'd be your friends even if you wore a potato sack for a dress. How's my makeup? You asked yourself, leaning into the mirror to get a closer look. This was a silly question, however. You didn't even wear makeup besides mascara, but you still wanted to make sure it looked nice, which it did. Your eyelashes were long, dark, and perfectly curled with just the right amount of mascara, making your eyes stand out and complement your facial structure just right. What's this feeling right now? Am I feeling good about myself? Holy shit. Haven't felt that in a while. I'm gonna hold on to this feeling. You thought to yourself, smiling excitedly as you grabbed your backpack off the desk and made your way out of your room into the kitchen to say goodbye to your mom for the day. Looking up at you from where she sat at the kitchen table, sipping on coffee, your mom grinned and gave you a joking eyebrow raise. "Look at you, Miss YN. You're gonna knock them all dead once you get to school," she playfully remarked. Rolling your eyes, you grabbed a piece of jelly on toast off her plate, taking a bite before walking towards the door. "Please, if I knock them dead, it's because I'm too weird. See you, Mom. Love you," you shouted before opening and exiting out the front door. Glancing down the hall and seeing your favorite blue-haired boy leaning against his apartment door, standing straight once he saw you. "Sally face! Let's get going. Larry's probably waiting for us out front," you exclaimed, adjusting your backpack slightly as you began to walk towards the elevator. Sal blushed underneath his prosthetic at the sight of you. You looked so cute, but to him you always looked cute. Even on the first day you met, when you had a serious case of frizzy hair and overnight car ride eye bags. Walking behind you, he entered the elevator alongside you, his eyes never leaving your figure.
That sweater must be her favorite. She wore it the other day, too. I've never seen her in a skirt before. Though, are those stockings? I thought girls only wore those in the movies.
He thought, staring at your legs. Noticing he was being a bit quiet, you looked at him with a curious head tilt, wondering what he was looking at. Sal? What's up? What are you looking at? He jumped a little, thinking you had caught him staring at your legs.
Oh, it's just...
Looking down at the area where his eyes were, you noticed one of your bootlaces had come undone. Oh, the lace untied itself. Thanks for noticing, Sal. Let me fix it real quick. You replied, oblivious as to what he was actually looking at. The boy let out a huge sigh of relief, awkwardly gripping onto the straps of his backpack.
Yeah, that's what it was. You look nice today, by the way, YN.
Finished up tying your lace, you stood back up and gave Sal a warm smile as the elevator doors opened. You too, Sal. You always look cute. Guess it must be the Sal face charm, eh? You said playfully, exiting the elevator and walking towards the front door of the building.
Cute? Did she mean that? Or is she just being nice? I mean, I'm always wearing my mask. How can she call me cute when she has no idea what I look like underneath it? God, jeez. Stop reading into it so much.
Sal thought to himself, following you outside towards Larry's beat-up old car, where he was waiting, sitting up on the hood. Just as you had expected, he jokingly whistled at you, just like the other time you got slightly dressed up, making you blush and shove him once you reached him. You know, Larry, I'm starting to think you whistle at me out of pity by how often you do it. You teased, grinning smugly.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. It's not that at all, YN. It's not my fault you always look whistle-worthy. Now get both of your little asses in the car before I leave you guys here.
He joked back, making you laugh. Watching us playfully tease each other like that made Sal's stomach turn every time he witnessed it, although he wasn't completely sure why. He wished he was as carefree and relaxed about joking around and teasing you like Larry was. But every time the two of you even slightly began to playfully interact, he'd become incredibly nervous and start feeling those butterflies in his stomach. They hadn't gone away like he expected them to yet, but he figured they would eventually. But for now, he just had to play it cool. Once the three of you were in the car, Larry in the front seat and Sal and you in the back, you set off to school. YN, why didn't you sit shotgun? Who am I supposed to talk to now? Larry whined, pretending to be hurt by you choosing to sit in the back with Sally face. I'm right here. You can talk to me just fine, silly. Plus, I don't want to leave Sal alone in the back. That'd be mean of me. You stated, giving Sal a quick smile, making him gulp nervously.
Thanks, YN. You didn't have to do that. You're always so nice to me. Is it because of my so-called Sally face charm you mentioned earlier?
He asked, finally gathering up the courage to make a playful banter with you. Giggling, you nodded. Definitely did. After that, the car ride was full of talk about how you guys slept last night, what you dreamt about, if you saw any ghosts around, what you ate for breakfast, and random jokes about anything and everything under the sun. Before you knew it, you guys had made it to school, 10 minutes before the first bell was about to ring. Once out the car and into the school, you found yourself feeling a little out of place and anxious, but with Larry and Sal by your side, you knew you'd be just fine. The three of you retrieved your schedules from the main office and quickly began to compare classes, hoping you'd have at least one class in common, and luckily you had more than you expected. You had math and science with Sal, English with Larry, and the three of you had art class together at the end of the day. Holy shit! Talk about luck, huh, guys? I feel so much better knowing I have most of my classes with you both. Feels like a huge weight is off my shoulders. I can relax a little now. You said, obviously relieved to know your classes wouldn't be so lonely. Noticing he had two classes with just the two of you, Sal felt butterflies in his stomach once again, mixed with nervousness at the thought of being alone with you, without the usual presence of Larry. But maybe it'd be a good thing. He could finally get that desired alone time together to strengthen your friendship and become more comfortable around you without depending on Larry to always be the comedic relief. We really did luck out this year. Looks like both of you will have a good start here. I completely forgot YN wasn't the only newbie. It's Sal's first day at Nockfell too, after all. This had also slipped your mind. Sal was still pretty new to this town, just as you were, only having arrived a month and a half ago. Well, Sal, let's make a newbie pact and stick together and look out for each other. I've got your back if you've got mine. Deal? You asked as you placed a hand on his shoulder, smiling warmly. He returned your smile from under his mask, nodding in agreement. For sure, YN. I'm glad we're both going to experience the same newbie shit. Looks like we have first period together, science with Mr. Bundy. You know where that is, Larry? The brown-haired boy nodded, shoving his schedule into his backpack, pocketing it before looking around. Yeah, I can definitely show you guys where your classes are, but for now, let's see if we can find Todd and Ash. They said they'd be by the library to pick up their locker numbers and combinations. We should go do the same thing, he said, his arms reaching over his head as he stretched, letting out a yawn, rubbing his eyes. As the three of you began to make your way to the library, you watched Larry's expression, noticing he seemed seriously sleepy. Sure, those never-leaving eye bags underneath his eyes were pretty dark, but you didn't find them unusual or weird-looking. If anything, they perfectly matched and added character to Larry's personality, like an unusual but cute quirk. Feeling okay, Larry? Did you sleep well last night? You're like half awake right now, you said with concern in your voice, making Larry pat your head and Sal laugh slightly. Oh, YN. There's a reason we only hung out in the afternoon and evenings. Larry's not a morning person at all. He'd probably sleep through the end of the world. Sal joked, Larry's current tired nature making a lot more sense now. He's right. Over the last month of summer vacation, Sal either had to wait for me to wake up or smack me upside the head. I'll miss those days, Larry remarked with a bummed out look on his face. Walking in between both of your friends, cracking witty jokes about each other, you felt so content with your life. It was a feeling that you hardly ever felt before. But now that you had it, you were determined not to let it slip from your grasp. A dull, beige sign over red metallic double doors read, Library, which Sal pushed open for both you and Larry to enter the quite busy library, students hurriedly walking around and impatiently waiting to receive their assigned locker information slips. Heads turned and students leaned into one another to quietly whisper once their eyes landed upon the three of you, specifically on Sally's face. You had anticipated something like this would happen, but Jesus, did these students have to be so fucking obvious about it? Furrowing your eyebrows, you gave anyone who even slightly made a face at Sally's face an intimidating glare, or at least your best attempt at one. God, it's like they've never seen someone who looks even slightly different from them. I hope Sally's face is feeling alright. He's told me he's used to this kind of behavior, but that doesn't make it okay. You thought all this while maintaining your glare, making sure to let people know your friend was not to be messed with unless they wanted a mouthful of boo. Larry had the same thought processing as you. However, he pretended not to notice all the eyes on Sally. But if anyone even tried to pull something, there'd be a pair of fists alongside your boot to defend your dear masked friend. In Sal's mind, however, all he was really thinking about was how precious that angered expression on Ryan's face was. Her usually soft eyes were now shooting daggers at anyone who dared to give him a funny look. Lips slightly pouted and shining from the chapstick you had applied this morning, he felt like he had his own personal pair of bodyguards, one a cute girl and the other a grimy punk dude, standing beside a blue-haired boy with pigtails, face hidden by expressionless prosthetic. Talk about a dynamic trio. Just as you were about to say something to a tall guy who was giving Sally's face a particularly weird look, Larry exclaimed, There they are. There they are. Todd and Ash. They're sitting over there. Come on, YN, you gotta meet them. They'll love ya. And so all three of you began towards the pair sitting at the table. Instantly, your eyes fell upon who you presumed to be Ash, an absolutely lovely girl, with the greenest eyes you've ever seen and long brown hair, which complemented her fair skin. Wow, she's gorgeous. Lucky her. You thought to yourself before the ginger, serious-looking boy sitting beside her caught your attention. Oh, that's gotta be Todd, the smart-ass kid, as Larry put it. It was Ashley who spoke first. Hey, Larry. Sally face. This must be YN. She said, giving you a small wave. I'm Ashley, or Ash if you prefer. And this here is Todd. Todd gave you a nod and friendly, nice to meet you, YN. Sal's told me about you when he came to my apartment the other day, and I took the liberty of telling Ashley about you. Hope that's all right with you. He spoke with a monotone but still sincere voice. With a shy smile, you tucked a strand of hair behind your ear, greeting both of them. It's so nice to finally meet you guys. I've been told that you're both really cool. Oh, and you lived at Addison Apartments, Todd? I'm sorry, I never got the chance to say hi. I had no clue you lived there, too. You said, giving both Sal and Larry a, what the heck? Look. They both laughed awkwardly, and Larry responded with, it totally slipped our minds. But Todd's always in his room anyway, unless he's helping us with ghost shit. Ashlyn chimed in. Oh yeah, speaking of ghost shit, you moved into Miss Sanderson's old apartment, right, Wyan? She asked you with a nervous tone in her voice, wondering if you knew of the room's past. A bit surprised at the question, but not wanting to kill the mood, you responded with a simple, yeah. Sally face and Larry let me know everything I needed to know about the apartment building. Now we're officially going ghost hunting after school, right guys? Sal nodded. Yeah, wanna come, Ash? How about you, Todd? He asked the pair. Sorry, I can't today. Gotta watch Benjamin. Be sure to tell me what goes down, though. Todd adding, I've got to organize my tutoring schedule after school. So far, I'm set to tutor 3 students besides Ashley here. But if any trouble with your contraptions arise, feel free to drop by my place. Larry patted your head, making sure not to ruffle it this time, knowing you'd kill him if he messed up your nicely brushed hair. Looks like it's just Sally face Wyan and I tonight then. More ghosts for us. Think you can handle it, Wyan? He asked you in a teasing voice, leaning down slightly to meet your eye level, squinting your eyes playfully. You leaned in closer to Larry's face, joking back with the real question is, are the ghosts going to be able to handle me? Making the 5 of you laugh, causing some students to look over towards the commotion. Sal did laugh at your joke, but a pit had formed in his stomach when he noticed your face being so close to Larry's. Noses nearly touching and eyes playfully squinting at each other. Lucky Larry. He's got a whole face to make dumb expressions towards Wyan. Meanwhile, I've only got my eyes and words to speak my feelings. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal, though. Wyan knows she can joke around with me like that, too, right? Or does she just not want to? These curious thoughts were interrupted when the soft skin of your hand met his, leading him towards the librarian's desk to retrieve the locker's info slips. Larry following after the 2 of you. Come on, guys, don't want to be late to the first class of the day, right? You asked. Even more people were now looking at the 2 of you, walking hand in hand. Bud instantly rested his face, and he definitely wasn't expecting to be holding your hand today, or ever really. But hey, he wasn't going to stop you. You were holding his hand, and his only, not Larry's. This made Sal feel good, still oblivious as to why. The 3 of you were handed your locker info as the bell rang, Todd and Ash joining the trio once you retrieved it. The group now all headed to their designated first period. After parting ways with one another, you and Sal arrived to your first class of the day, which Todd happened to share with you guys. The classroom was set up in a way making it that 4 people would sit at one table. So you, Sal, and Todd chose to sit at the table closest to the back. This would draw the least amount of attention to Sally face. The 4th person at the table was a friend of Todd's, another incredible smart honors student, who was more focused on setting up his notebook than making friends with the new kids. This didn't bother you, however. It left more room for you and Sal to talk with one another. As the class was getting settled, you scooted closer to Sal as Todd and his friend on the opposite side of the table chatted away about whatever honors kids talked about. Psst, Sal, looks like Redunce's here, huh? You joked, Pulling out a purple notebook and pencil, Sal chuckled, doing the same thing and preparing his supplies for class. Glad you had moved your chair closer to his so you could talk in hushed whispers, making him remark, "I'm sure you're not a dunce, but if you are, then we're both fucked." This made you giggle, but you quickly stopped as the teacher arrived to class, setting his cup of coffee down on the wooden desk, adjusting his tie, beginning to give the class the standard first day monologue. A few minutes into the teacher speaking in an unenthused voice in front of the class, you lean in towards Sal to whisper once again, "Hey, for his name being Mr. Bundy, he looks more like a djinn." The two of you quietly giggled to yourselves, doodling all over each other's paper and telling jokes for the rest of class, shoulders practically touching from how close you two were sitting beside one another. Time flew by, and before you knew it, the bell rang, making you and Sal both jump as you were in the middle of playing tic-tac-toe, which Sal was weirdly good at. Getting up and heading towards the door to leave to your next class, you felt someone accidentally step on the heel of your boot, making you stumble slightly. Sal stopped and helped you regain your balance, grabbing a hold of your hands before you got the chance to stumble any further. Standing up straight now, you both looked behind yourselves to see who it had been that caused the inconvenience. A boy with tan skin, bright blonde hair, and a scowl across his face, eyeing both of you up and down. He snickered a bit before walking past you and out the door, mumbling a half-assed "my bad" as he left the classroom. Not wanting to let the upbeat mood you had built with Sally turn sour, you turned to him and joked, "Well, he must have loved my boots, right?" A bit uneasy at the encounter, Sal watched the boy walk down the hall, making a mental note of what he looked like before turning back to face you. Eyes behind his mask creasing at the corners, which you knew meant he was smiling. "Guess so. Let's go to our next class, 𝖲ฉิ. We've got math together too, remember?" With a smile, you nodded and followed Sally Face into the hallway, the both of you walking shoulder to shoulder towards the next class. Lunchtime. Finally! My tummy's been rumbling all through third period. Aimlessly thinking, you made your way towards the cafeteria, feeling a little anxious being on your own after you and Sal had parted ways before third period. You were stuck with history while he had PE with Larry. Once finding the cafeteria, your eyes wandered around the crowd, looking for your friends, not wanting to be stuck sitting alone. Just as you were about to walk in a different direction, you felt a hand up on your shoulder, expecting to see Larry or Sal, maybe even Ash or Todd, when you turned around, but instead, you were met with the same blonde boy who had accidentally stepped on your shoe earlier that day. Unsure of how to react, you stepped back a little, causing his hand to slip off your shoulder. "Oh, hi? We had science class earlier today, right?" You asked, a hint of annoyance in your voice at the unwanted physical contact he had made towards you. Lunch tray in his other hand, the boy replied with a curt, "Yeah, stepped on your boot earlier. Anyways, you're new, right? How about you sit with me and I show you around later? I'll make it worth your while." His voice was slightly nasally and annoying, making you cringe a little when you heard it. Not wanting to put up with any more of this guy's bullshit, you replied with a polite but stern, "Sorry, I'm supposed to be sitting with my friends. Thanks for the offer, though," before promptly turning around and walking swiftly away, leaving the boy with a pissed-off expression on his face, as if he could believe you rejected his offer. Shaking off the icky feeling that creep had given you, another hand placed itself upon your shoulder, but this time you wasted no time in quickly turning around. "Listen, I already said no the first time, so..." Your eyes landed upon Larry, a confused expression on his face as he held his lunch tray with his other hand. "Huh? What are you talking about, 𝖲ฉิ? And careful with turning around so fast like that. Nearly made me drop my pizza." Relieved to see that it was Larry, you let out a sigh of relief. Sorry. Guess you just caught me off guard for a second. Where's the rest of the gang?" You asked, and Larry signaled for you to follow him, leading you to a table in the corner of the lunchroom where the least amount of people were. There you saw your dear friends, Sal and Ash, sitting on one side of the table, while two other people you didn't recognize sat across from them. Sitting your backpack on the table, you sat yourself beside Sal. Larry sitting across from you and immediately taking a bite out of his greasy school pizza. Before, he remembered you must be wondering who the other two people were. Swallowing his bite of pizza, he pointed towards the unknown pair. This is Maple and Chug, by the way, YN. They're a couple of our other friends. Chug actually lives in the building, too. Maple offered a small wave, and Chug said hi, you returning the greeting before they went back to whatever conversation they were having between themselves. Once settled, you unzipped your backpack and began to carefully look through it, Sal watching you and wondering what you were looking for. Oh, did you pack your lunch, YN? Ash does that too, he remarked, Larry leaning in over the table, ready to ask for some of whatever you had packed, eyeing the buttons and patches upon your backpack as well. Yeah, I packed my lunch, but I also brought something for you guys. Slowly, you pulled out a Tupperware container, placing it in the center of the lunch table, glancing towards Larry. Care to do the honors of opening it up, Blair Bear? I brought these for you guys to enjoy. I made them myself, as a way to say thanks for being my friends. Ash, Maple, and Chug, you can have some too. We did become friends today after all, so help yourself. There should be at least one for everyone. After he got over the annoyance of you calling him the nickname his mother gave him, Larry reached for the container and practically ripped the lid off, revealing a container full of homemade baked brownies. Holy fuck! Don't mind if I do, he exclaimed, taking one from the container and biting into it, passing the container over to Maple and Chug, who graciously thanked you for the yummy treat. Next, Ash grabbed one, complimenting you on your baking skills and generosity. 2 brownies were left in the container, leaving Sal to grab the second to last one. By the time Sal had taken his share, Larry was already finished with his, brownie crumbs at the corner of his mouth. Jesus, YN, you actually made these yourself? You mind whipping up some more the next time we hang out? Not even my mom makes brownies like this, he loudly exclaimed, making you blush as you ate a forkful of the fruit bowl you had packed for lunch. Really? All I did was follow the instructions on the back of the box. I did alter the recipe a bit, though. It's my first time baking anything. What do you think, Sal? You asked him when it all hit you, looking down at his untouched brownie, realizing he probably couldn't eat it without taking off his mask. Sorry, Sal. I forgot about your situation. I can save it for you to eat later if you want. Laughing quietly underneath his prosthetic, one hand reached behind his head, unbuckling the lower strap of his mask, allowing him to ever so slightly lift it up while his face remained hidden, his hand with the brownie in it going towards his hidden mouth, coming out behind his mask with a bite taken out of it. It's not too complicated. Thanks for being concerned, though, YN. And Larry's right. For your first time baking, it's incredibly good. I can't remember the last time I had freshly baked brownies. Relieved Sal was able to eat comfortably, you couldn't help but admire how endearing he was. Although his mask was blank and expressionless, his eyes and words conveyed all the emotions you needed to hear. Lunchtime was over by the time Sal finished his brownie, but he had one extra plastic baggie tucked in his pocket he was saving for later. You had given him yours. English with Larry went better than you thought it would. You guys sat beside one another in these uncomfortable single-seat desks. And whenever the teacher would force the students to engage in icebreakers as a form of getting to know your classmates, you and Larry would pretend to be strangers and act like everything you two told each other was brand new, information you had never known about one another. Well, YN, my favorite band is Sanity Falls. Ever heard of them? He asked, an exaggerated snarky tone in his voice. No way! They're my favorite too! I can't believe we have so much in common. Bursting out with laughter, the two of you did get some glances from the other students, but your teacher just assumed the two of you were dating or something. Walking over towards you and commenting, "Oh, how sweet. You two remind me of me and my husband when we were young. Don't let anything get in the way of your relationship, kiddos," she remarked before going back to her desk. You looked at Larry with a confused, wide-eyed look, him returning the same expression before the two of you smiled, holding it before erupting into laughter once again, tears forming in both of your eyes after laughing so hard. Oh man, you knew the school year was going to be just fine, and the school day hadn't even ended yet. You grumbled to yourself as you made your way down the hall, your backpack now containing the unflattering PE uniform you were going to have to start wearing next week. Maybe if I just tie the shirt from the back with a hair tie, I'll look less box-shaped, and I'm definitely swapping those baggy-ass shorts for the ones I already own. Ugh, at least Maple and Todd were the only ones in my PE period. I'd be so embarrassed if Sal had to see me run laps. Speaking of Sal, I've got art with him and Larry. Yes, just the people I want to see to finish the school day. Upon entering the colorful classroom with walls full of artwork done by several students over the years, you immediately saw your friends sitting at the table in the back, this classroom also being set up by tables of 4. There were Sal and Ash sitting beside each other on one end of the table, talking about their classes and how their days had been. You were a bit bummed you didn't get to sit on the same side of the table as Sal, but hey, sitting across from him was just as nice too. Plopping yourself down onto the uncomfortable wooden chairs, you greeted the two of them with a quick, "Hey you guys," before looking around the room with a certain tall, long brown-haired figure. "Where's Larry?" you asked when all of a sudden you felt someone ruffle your hair. Yep, you knew he just had to sneak behind you to do that. "Sup, Wyan? Hope you didn't miss me too much last period. Oh yeah, by the way, Sal Fisher and Ash, me and Wyan are dating," he stated with a smug expression on his face. Waiting to see their reactions, you played along with his act, scooting your chair closer to his, resting your head on his shoulder. "Yep, just made it official today. Crazy, right, guys?" you said, giving Larry a quick wink, both of you trying your best not to break character. Instantly, Sallyface felt like he had just been punched in the stomach, his eyes widening to the size of saucers, as he saw you lay your head on Larry's shoulder, feeling like he had taken a second punch to the gut when you said you had just made it official today. Unable to hold in his thoughts, he placed his hands on the table abruptly and asked, What the fuck? You guys are actually dating?" Ash simply replied with a surprised, "Whoa, congratulations you guys. I had no idea you liked each other. Larry's got a tendency to be pretty slow when it comes to his feelings." That statement made you burst out laughing, Larry giving Ash an annoyed look. "I do not. I'm just hard to read. I'm not slow when it comes to my feelings," he defensively replied before joining you into your fit of laughter. Ash and Sal now incredibly confused as to what the hell was going on. Once you caught your breath, you adjusted your chair so it wasn't so close to Larry's and fixed your ruffled up hair, calmly beginning to explain the joke. "We're not serious, guys. We were just pulling your legs. Our English teacher got confused and thought we were dating, and we thought it was hilarious, so we wanted to get another laugh out of you guys. Sorry." Still not finished laughing, Larry pointed at Sal, who was still processing what had just happened. Jesus, the reaction we got out of Sal was priceless. I've never seen his eyes bulge out of his mask like that. I thought his prosthetic was going to explode then and there. Embarrassed, Sal began to awkwardly rub the back of his neck, his other hand still on the table, fiddling with his pencil. Sorry, it was just really out of the blue. You guys really got us." Noticing Sal was embarrassed about how worked up he had gotten, you gave him an apologetic look before apologizing verbally. "Sorry, Sal, don't be embarrassed. Larry and I were great actors for a second there, eh? But remember, it was all just an act to mess with you guys." The two of you made eye contact. Your kind, sincere eyes made him know your apology was genuine, making him feel less embarrassed and relieved, knowing it was all just a silly joke. "Wyan isn't dating Larry. Phew," he thought to himself. "Wait, why am I so relieved? Is this normal? Why did my stomach feel so awful when they first told their joke? Why do I feel so much better now? Maybe I'm the one who's slow when it comes to understanding how I feel." Sally's train of thought was interrupted when Larry exclaimed, "Wait, it was all an act? How could you, YN? And to think I thought what we had was real." He joked, making the four of you all laugh before the teacher began to give her introduction to the class. The final blow of the day was music to your ears. The three of you saying goodbye to Ash outside of the school doors, beginning to walk towards Larry's car, him giving you guys a ride, just as he had this morning. This was the plan for the rest of the school year. Once in the car, you let out a loud, exhausted sigh, tossing your backpack onto the floor of the car, your head resting against Sal's shoulder, causing him to tense up a bit, the butterflies beginning to manifest in his stomach. Man, that was the best first day I've ever had, but I'm so fucking tired. I'm gonna take a nap once I get home. Sorry, Sal, is it okay if I use your shoulder as a pillow until we get home? You asked him, being answered with a quick nod from him as he shifted to let you rest more comfortably, a bit of sweat beginning to form underneath of his mask. Don't stay asleep too long, YN, unless you want us to come drag you out of bed. We've got Ghost Watch planned tonight at 7, remember? Larry reminded you, pulling out of the school parking lot and onto the road leading back home. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to you coming with us, YN. I really want you to meet Megan. I'm sure she'll like you a lot. Everyone does. Glancing up at Sal from his shoulder, you examined his mask, never being so close to it as you were now. Thick, sturdy material, it really looked well made. It perfectly fit his facial structure, which was surprisingly sharp and strong. His mask, although his eyes were the only real part of his face you've seen, you didn't mind whatsoever. Even the sight of Sal's mask was enough to make you feel all warm inside, if only you had the courage to tell him that. Oh yeah, Sal, do you want to come over tomorrow to my place for the portrait project? It's due by the end of the week, so we should get a head start. You asked him, hoping he'd say yes. Before he had a chance to answer, Larry began to speak. Oh yeah, speaking of that, why didn't you pick Ash to be your partner for the project? I wanted to be able to draw YN, but you beat me to asking her. Plus, I thought you had a crush on Ash. That would have made some good alone time with her, don't you think? Once Larry finished that statement, you lifted your head off Sal's shoulder, giving him a surprised look, eyes staring into his. Oh, you like Ash? I didn't know. You should have told me, Sally Face. We're friends after all, right? You asked, your voice much softer than it had been before. Sal raised his hands up, signaling no as he began to explain himself. No, I don't. I mean, I used to when I first met her, but it's not like that anymore. She's my friend. I don't have a crush on her. Noticing how worked up Sal was getting, Larry glanced back at him in the rearview mirror. Whoa, dude, chill. YN isn't going to tell Ash any of this. She's not a snitch. Just relax. Sorry I mentioned it. I didn't know you got over the crush, my bad. Giving him a half smile, you patted Sal's shoulder. Yeah, don't worry about it, Sal. Your secret's safe with me, dude. That was the last thing you said to him before turning to rest your head against the window instead of his shoulder for the rest of the ride home.